Combate Americas has signed professional wrestling star Melissa Thunder Rosa Cervantes to an exclusive multi-fight mixed martial arts promotional agreement. Fighting out of San Antonio, Texas, this 28-year-old wrestling standout who you've seen on Lucha Underground, NWA Power, and Wild Women in Wrestling, among others, was born in Tijuana, BC, Mexico, and she will make her professional MMA debut in her now hometown of San Antonio on Friday, November 8th on the Combate Americas live Univision and TUDN national television series. Thank you so much, Thunder Rosa. Why Combate Americas? Why try MMA?
Well, Combate Americas came to me, and it was just like by curiosity. They asked me a couple questions, and then I went to see one of their shows after I had some talks with some people. And then they were like, will you be interested in doing MMA? As you know, I've been practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a couple of years, on and off and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I think it's something that it will be doable. I talked to my family, especially my husband. We discussed it really, really well. And I was like, I think it's a time. It was like in a time in my life, too, that I needed to reignite everything. And MMA did it. Like, I am a firm believer of, like, training really hard, and I always like to train that way. And being so focused on training now, it just reignited everything in my life, like, with professional wrestling, now with MMA, and I love it. And that's how I decided to join Combate Americas. And also, I just want to tell you, I'm not 28. I guess it's like what the online people say. I'm not 28. I mean, I would like to be 28. I look 28.
Well, going by the press release, we're going to have to correct all that then.
If you guys want to put down 28, I'm going to go with it.
As long as you're in great shape, the age doesn't matter.
Well, I can tell you, I look better than when I was 18. That's for sure.
Hey, you see all this crossover between MMA and pro wrestling? Cain Velasquez just recently, but there have been so many other stars, and doing both. Is the plan for you to do both? And did that influence you too, because other pro wrestling stars have crossed over and vice versa?
Yes, that is my plan, to be doing both. I'm really blessed right now that Combate is allowing me to do both. And now with the National Wrestling Alliance coming up, I'm focusing on mainly working with National Wrestling Alliance, so I can, at the same time, I can focus on my MMA career.
Who and where are you training?
I train at Brazilian Top Team in San Antonio, Texas. We have different coaches here, and it's been really amazing. The team is really, really, really tight. Some of the fighters, they've been together fighting for quite a while now. So they were very kind to, like, bring me in and accept me and push me to my limits, which is the most important part that I needed.
Combate Americas is also known for having sexy star, pro wrestler Dolce Garcia, and she already has had her debut competing in MMA. Did you talk to her at all? Was that an influence to try this as well?
Yes, she was a great positive influence in this decision. I had a couple of conversations with her over the phone, and we stayed pretty close after, we both stopped working for Lucha Underground. And, I trust her judgment in terms of this. I mean, she's done professional boxing, and for her, like, there's no limits for anything. Every time she wants to do something, she goes for it, regardless if she fails or succeeds. She always goes for it, and she was like, no, just go for it. Don't be afraid. It's a great experience, and you will get, and it will help you so much on your professional wrestling career as well.
Another name very familiar to pro wrestling, Alberto Del Rio, and he is also coming out of MMA retirement, so to speak, because back in the day he did MMA, and now he's going to be fighting Tito Ortiz. Did you get any opportunity to speak with him at all about any of this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's been definitely one of the main people that I've talked to. He also lives here in San Antonio, and I had the opportunity to talk to him on the phone in person, and he's like one of the people that likes to help people like him, you know, Hispanic, and that he sees future, and that he's like the fire in their eyes. So definitely he was really helpful in this.
Melissa, can you compare training for pro wrestling to training for MMA?
In some aspects, yes. In some aspects, it's very different. Definitely, you're not, you know, you don't get on top of the cage and start like asking someone to catches for Rakarana, you know. It doesn't happen. So it is so much different. The cardio level, it's the conditioning and the technicalities and the precision. It's very, very different. At the same time, it's the same, but your adrenaline is rushing all the time, and you have to be ready. To be the best, you have to train a lot, and you have to be focused, and you have to be very anal about a lot of stuff. So I'm sorry. Let's rephrase that. Just be very focused. I'm having here somebody like, don't hear that word.
You're being edited while we're doing the interview.
So I mean, in many aspects, it's been very different. Like one of the things that it's completely different than professional wrestling is like cutting weight. The way that we have to cut weight for bouts and stuff. I never experienced that unless you wanted to do TV and you want to look good. But you know, I mean, if you do wrestling, like collegiate wrestling, you still have to drop weight, which is different. But if you do professional wrestling, I mean, you see some of the characters they seem like they have to cut weight ever. But that's part of the show. But yeah, I love it. I mean, regardless of what it is, you know, if we train no gi, wrestling with gi, and then in the cage, it's amazing.
Well, that's interesting too, talking about cutting weight, because, you know, obviously in pro wrestling you don't have to worry so much about that, but that's a big factor here. But are you comfortable with the weight class that you're going to be entered in for MMA? So even though you haven't really experienced this, so you're not cutting too much weight?
No, I'm not cutting a lot of weight, but I'm also very strict on my diet. I've always been very strict on my diet. So we have to do a little changes here and there. And like I said, a lot of the guys and girls that I'm training with, they have a lot of experience. So they've been very helpful. Very, very helpful. So definitely my strength and conditioning coach, she's been on it with me. And she's been on every step with me. And right now my weight is really healthy. So I'm going to be able to drop the weight without, you know, sacrificing a lot or being too tired or stuff like that. That's the most important part for me, because I've seen, you know, documentaries and I've seen a lot of videos, and of some of the weight cuts that some of the female fighters have to do, and they're like so drastic. It just takes such a huge toll on your body. You know, I don't want to do that. I want to do it on the healthiest weight. And then I remember talking to one of King Mo. I met him a couple years in WrestleMania, actually, and I asked him, like, how do you, like, cut weight without being so, getting sick or getting too,
tired, worn out, right?
Yeah, you just have to maintain your weight, you know, and a healthy weight in order for you to, like, not drop so much and not be, you know, hurting. So, like, that just got stuck in my head, and I was like, all right, let's do this in a healthy way.
No, that's a good attitude, and that's a good way to go about it. It's interesting to me, too, between pro wrestling and MMA, because tell me if I'm right about this. In pro wrestling, I mean, basically you could be working 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 days a week, and you may not have a lot of time to do any wrestling training. But with MMA, it's the other way around. Actually, you'll be doing a lot of MMA training for one fight in an expanded period of time.
Yes, you just, like, hit the nail right there. Yes, like there's been occasions where I had TV tapings, and we had 6-7 matches in 3 days, and I have to go back and train like I never had any matches, and it's like, oh my god, it's a lot, but I guess when you start training for pro wrestling, you train like 5-6 days a week before you even have a match. And then once you start having your matches, then you can ease on the training. But in MMA, training and continued training is super important. At the same time, when I was in Japan traveling for training for the professional wrestling, I noticed that people that were on top or were the stars, they never stopped training pro wrestling. They continued training, and that's why they were some of the best. And some of them are actually on WWE right now.
Why do you think there is so much crossover these days between pro wrestling and MMA?
I think it's an opportunity for the performers, I'm talking about pro wrestling to MMA, to tap into another pool of fans and also to learn new skills that can be used in the ring and then outside of the ring. For me, it's to challenge myself and to do something that, again, a lot of people will say that I will never be able to do. But I'm taking it very serious, and I'm like, yesterday I was washing the dishes. No, I was washing my clothes after practice because I hand wash my stuff. And I was telling my husband, like, I really love the feeling of going to training, coming back, eating healthy, focusing on my stuff, and then going back to training. It's just like, I'm loving the process. Yes, it's tiring, and sometimes you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I love it.
Well, Melissa, is there though a certain food that you're like, oh man, I can't eat this anymore right now?
No, thankfully I love eggs. I love tuna, ground beef. I'm getting tired of it because I do eat a lot of ground chicken. I don't want to eat grilled chicken as much because that gets tiring. Like I said, thankfully I'm very particular and I'm very strict on my diet, and I've been like that for 4 years now. So if I get tired of something, I switch it to something else. And I love vegetables, and I know a lot of people struggle eating vegetables. I don't. If you can put 3 plates of vegetables, I'll eat them all. I'm blessed with that. So the only thing that I wish I could eat right now, and I'm not going to lie, is donuts.
Oh.
I will eat a dozen of them right now.
We have Krispy Kreme here in South Florida, and they're really good. And Mojo Donuts too. Oh my God.
I just feel like when they're like just warm, like, oh my God, just get out of the oven and like just.
I know. Well, you know what? Let's not talk about this. I don't want to get you off your diet. I don't want to get you off your healthy ways. Well, this is a really amazing. You're such a standout in professional wrestling. What a talent in the ring. What a look you bring to the ring, too. That's also just very unique. And now you're going to be making your MMA debut on Friday, November 8th in San Antonio for Combate Americas. And you've decided to go by the name Thunder Rosa in MMA. And I just wanted to know, everyone's different. Everyone does their own thing. But what made you decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to use this name rather than my birth name?
I will definitely want her to keep Thunder Rosa with me because just as Melissa Cervantes, it's me. Thunder Rosa, it's an extension of me. And when Thunder Rosa was created, I used to work at a rehab facility as a supervisor for teenagers that have dual diagnoses. They were alcoholics, drug addicts, you name it. And on top of that, they have mental health problems. A lot of them, I was like that ray of hope in their life. And when I started training for professional wrestling, they saw my transformation because they stayed there for quite a while. So when I stopped working there, I told them that I was going to become a professional wrestler. Some of them were really happy, and they went back. Some of them went back home, and some of them committed suicide, or they got killed by the police, or they just got caught in life, and all the stuff that we talk about, it just stopped. So for me, using Thunder Rosa is remembering those who I was a ray of light, that I was the hope to do something that people told them that they couldn't do otherwise, and just to continue to remember them because they follow me everywhere I go. Like, I've been so blessed, and my uncle told me one time, it was my destiny to become a professional wrestler, and it was my destiny to become a warrior because it's in my blood. Like my grandfather died watching professional wrestling in Tijuana, and he was there when that happened. So I know that this is in my blood. I was a warrior, and I will continue to be a warrior for
Well, Melissa, what were you doing? Did you go to college and get a degree and then start in the work field before pro wrestling or while you were training?
Yes, professional wrestling was not even in the back of my mind, ever. I was a social worker for 5-6 years after I graduated from college, and I used to work in the Bay Area in the rehab facility. Then I worked in the community with clients that work between the ages of 18 and 25 that have mental health problems that just got out of a mental health hospital. So for me, mental health, like suicide prevention, and all of that is very, very important because we neglect that so much, and it's so needed in our community. And my husband still, now, we both used to work in the same organization in the Bay Area. Now he works in another organization with teens. So we continue to try to help as many kids as possible, however we can.
What inspired you to do such great work like that?
Well, when I first applied for the first job, it's because I needed a job after college because I needed to pay for my lunch. But then I fell in love with it. Like, I saw how these kids needed somebody, even if it wasn't part of their family. They needed somebody that can tell them that they believe in them, that they can do it, that there is no limit or limitations regardless of their shortcomings or the mental health problems or whatever. And some of them, I can tell you, there's one, she already has a 3-year-old, and I'm the godmother. I used to work with her, and she just flourished. We have a job. She was able to get a house now, and she's taking care of her daughter. And she was one of those kids, you know. And I'm so proud of her, and I'm so proud of seeing those kind of stuff, you know. So just being able to be, like I said, being able to be that ray of hope, and being able to be that staff that they're looking forward to see because they feel comfortable with you.
And you could even do that further now with your platform because so many more people get to see you, whether it's on TV, on social media, YouTube, etc., as a pro wrestler, as an MMA fighter. It's just an extension now that you can go out there and use your platform for things like that. Is that a goal for you as well?
Absolutely. I think a lot of stuff that I do, not only I do it because I want to, you know, be better economically and my family, but because I know that I can help somebody else. You know how many messages I received on my Instagram or on my Twitter of women, men, young girls that I am an inspiration for them, and they feel so comfortable talking to me. They don't know me, but that's just the fact that what they see on social media creates an impact. It means a lot. Like, there's multiple people that have said that they lost weight because they see my husband and I, like, working out together, stuff like that. A couple of girls, like, working on the self-esteem, and they see me that I don't pay attention to what people say, that makes them feel better, or that they want to be a wrestler because they saw me in a show. It's just, like, amazing. And now with MMA, it's gonna be so much bigger, and that's what I'm hoping for. Like, there's a bigger calling for me, and there's always been a bigger calling for me than just being a staff in an organization. You know, and that's the reason why I took a leap of faith when I did pro wrestling, and now I'm taking a leap of faith in doing MMA because I want a bigger legacy for my name and for my family.
A few more questions and we'll wrap this up, and thank you so much for the time and the insight. And Thunder Rosa, so I know you touched a little bit on it, so then where did actually Thunder Rosa, where did that name come from?
The name comes from, I used to work at this place called Thunder Road, and we were on the road in a wrestling show, and we were coming up with, like, different names that we could use, and it was my husband, a friend, and then we were using different names, and they was like, how about Thunder Rosa? We keep the Thunder to make it American, and then the Rosa to keep it Hispanic. So more people will identify with you, not only, like, you know, the Hispanic population. And we were like, yeah, that sounds great. And we started using it, and it just stick to us.
And you also have such elaborate ring gear, and the face is painted. How did you come up with all that?
The ring gear, let's see. Which is the idea with the skull and the thunder, were, like, it always there, and, like, it depends on our mood, or our roommate used to be a designer. She used to design really cool stuff for us. And then the face paint, it was given to me by a promotion because they wanted to click more with the Latino community. And then they were like, well, you know what, you should use half, because I used to put my face full, like the full face paint, and then just to see the different parts. And then when I went to Japan, I stopped using it because I didn't want to do that. When I went to Japan, I got a concussion in my first tour, and I felt like I was going to die. And I wasn't using face paint, so people were not connecting with me. So my husband suggested you should use the face paint. So just to remind yourself that you almost died and you have been reborn. So you're kind of like half dead, half alive kind of thing. And people really liked it, and we started using it, and we just took over with it.
It's very different, and I'm wondering, do you have a favorite design with ring gear and or face paint?
Different. I mean, I would like to use diamonds on it, but because I wrestle, they're gonna fall. So like the little ring stones in there. I really like what I'm doing now with using the eyeshadow, depending on what I'm wearing. So I use eyeshadow on my eyes, and then depending on how I'm feeling, that's how detailed it's gonna get.
Are you planning to do anything elaborate? This is different, obviously, pro wrestling, MMA. But have you thought yet about what you're going to wear or do for your MMA debut on November 8th?
We're still working on it. I mean, definitely for the weigh-ins, there's something cool. We're going to do something really cool. And I'm trying to talk to some of my sponsors, because I have like bikini sponsors and stuff, and see if he can get me something that represents, the brand. But for the day of the match, the bout, I'm working on something. Hopefully it's really cool.
It probably will be very cool. And I'm also, since this fight is taking place in your now hometown of San Antonio, have you already gotten plenty of requests for comp tickets from family and friends?
No, actually, believe it or not, a lot of my friends and everything, they bought first row. And those are not cheap. They all bought first row, and some of them were like they already sponsored me. So it was like, God, guys, thank you guys, you're so supportive. So there's a lot of support from fans, friends, and everything. They want to be there, and they're just so proud that I took a leap of faith, and I'm doing this now. Again, I'm so thankful for Combate Americas for allowing me to do this. For some people, my thing is completely insane. But I don't think so. This is destiny, man. This is destiny.
Well, your husband's going to get a comp ticket, right?
No, you have to pay. No, you're going to get a comp ticket. I'm hoping my son. I can't bring the dog.
Oh, all right. So, lastly, just a little wrestling talk at the end here, because you tell me what I'm correct at, and if I'm off on something. When you mentioned Japan, you were with Stardom, a very great company there. We know you from Lucha Underground, I believe, as Kobra Moon, correct?
Yes.
Yes, and that was an interesting time. You got to team with Holidead, which is an interesting combination in itself. You've worked for Ring of Honor. You're working for WOW as Serpentine. And then recently now we're seeing NWA Power. Gee, how do all those experiences, how do you morph all those experiences of what you've been able to do and more, and some of the things you've already been able to do? If you could expand a little bit on some of it anyway.
I think all of those experiences have helped me to grow as a performer and to feel more comfortable, like doing interviews like this, doing the press conferences, being more present on social media. And also they make me realize that it takes a lot more than just waiting for a company to push you, than for yourself to push yourself to put yourself in a better situation at the same time. Because a lot of people think that once they get signed, they're going to be like pushed to the moon, that their name is going to be everywhere, but sometimes that's not the case. And as you can see, I had different characters in different companies that I work, and a lot of people don't like to do that at all. So for Kobra Moon, like finding who Kobra Moon was and like performing that depending on what they wanted, how the company wanted. With Serpentine, it's the same thing. and making sure that the character goes over and that your skills show a lot more. And when people are like, oh, who is that girl? And then they see, oh, that's Thunder Rosa. Oh, my God, that's awesome. And then they start following you because of that. And now with National Wrestling and Alliance NWA Power, I get to be Thunder Rosa. I get to be myself for the first time in 6 years on TV, which is absolutely amazing. And like with all the experiences that I gained working in different companies, like you mentioned, in Japan with Stardom and now with Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, which I actually came as Thunder Rosa, and it was great. That was my last tour in Japan, with Kobra Moon and Lucha Underground, with Serpentine and WoW. Like, I can use all of that and just transform it into me in NWA, which is really cool because we don't come out with music. It's just your stage presence and what you bring into the ring. So I can't wait for people to see this all over the world, like now that it's in YouTube and Facebook, and people have access to it, which is super, super cool.
It is really super, super cool that you are doing what you're doing and now taking that to MMA. And even looking at whether it's you in the face paint and you've also worn the mask. Is it easier with the paint rather than the mask? Or both are okay?
Yeah. No, man. Like the mask, the first time that I used that mask, Kobra Moon mask, that mask was moving so much. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. It was terrible. Terrible. And but you get used to it. And then with Serpentine, we changed the mask and everything, so it was more comfortable. And then I was used to it. But just using the face paint, it's much easier because you can see everything. You don't have to be moving stuff, or like people are not trying to rip it apart, or your hair doesn't get stuck. It's just much better. But again, when you wear the mask, it's like a representation of Lucha Libre, which that's what they were trying to go for on both characters.
Yeah, it's very obviously, yes, very, very strong ties with the masks, with history, with religion, so many different factors with Mexican wrestling, and the mask, but you were able to do the face paint. So I was kind of thinking the face paint also sort of takes a little bit of the mask in that regard.
Yeah, if you want to say that, yes, absolutely. Yes, because it's like Dia de los Muertos is very Mexican, and I'm from Mexico. So, yes.
And I saw the match that you had on WOW, Women of Wrestling, on Access TV with champion Tessa Blanchard. What was that experience like? And Tessa's at such a young age. What do you think of her and her talents so far?
Well, the experience working in that match, I think it was great because I needed a match where I could showcase my skills, and also being able to make sure that my opponent looked the best that she could look. I think that's the reason why when you see like graded matches, because both people are in the ring, are great dance partners. I learned so much, and people, like I said, you watch that match, people still talk about it, and it's been like almost a month and a half since it was aired. And I remember one of the Access executives came, and he said that was probably one of the best matches that WOW has seen in the history of the show. So that meant a lot. And working with Tessa Blanchard is like so easy. I mean, with the last couple of years, she gained so many skills, and she's gotten so good at what she does. And she has a bright future ahead of her.
And someone that has a bright future right now, and is also will be a bright future ahead with Combate Americas MMA, Melissa Thunder Rosa Cervantes. We hear the dog in the back barking his approval for the match as well, so that was really good as well, Melissa.
Always in all my interviews, he always like to bark, and I'm like, dude, really? Everybody knows Drago. It's the funniest thing. I go to different states, and they're like, how is Drago doing? And I'm just thinking, like, you didn't ask me for my son or my husband. You just asked me.
People love animals. You see it all over social media. Food and animals. It's amazing. What kind of dog is Drago? And is Drago the name from Rocky IV?
Well, yes and no, because I don't know if you were able to see the whole season of Lucha Underground season 3 when I used to drag Drago with a chain, the wrestler.
I didn't think of that.
I was like, I need to have that power on somebody, and I was like, oh, my dog, yes, let me do that then. So one day, I probably for Halloween, I'll just put my Kobra Moon mask and I'll just walk Drago like he's my slave.
Oh, man. And I got to let you go because you've been kind enough to take so much time. But Halloween is right around the corner. I mean, you already have Halloween costume, whether it's Thunder Rosa, Kobra Moon, Serpentine. I mean, but do you have a favorite Halloween costume from when you were a kid or even as an adult?
I think I did Catwoman. My husband was Superman and I was Catwoman. I think that was my favorite.
Awesome. Listen, thank you so much for the time. Melissa Thunder Rosa Cervantes, you can catch her on Combate Americas, making her MMA debut on Friday, November 8th. It'll be on Univision Live and TUDN. And thank you so much. This was really, really a great honor for me to be able to do this and a pleasure, and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and sorry that we had so many technical difficulties before.
That's why we could do take 2.